The hospital at 3 a.m. is silent, but something is hunting in the basement. Mika and Aya were tracking a fragment of the killing stone. They found a funeral thief instead. It is not a ghost. It is a creature of charred fur and burning gears. And it knows exactly where you are hiding. The archives are evolving. Are you next on the list? Watch the full story now. The central hospital was a labyrinth of white corridors and fluorescent hums. It was 3 a.m. In the basement, the morgue and the isolation ward sat in a heavy, unnatural silence. Mika and Aya were not there for a patient. They were there because the fragment of the killing stone in Mika's pocket had begun to vibrate. It was a rhythmic, low-frequency hum, like a tuning fork struck against a tombstone.
The stone is reacting to something here. It is like it is calling out to something in the basement.
The air smells like burning rubber and ozone. Mika, look at the security monitors.
They were standing in the security office, staring at a bank of screens. Every camera in the basement ward was cycling through static, then flashing a single, recurring image. A massive, dark shape moving on all fours, trailing streaks of embers that seemed to carve deep gouges into the tiled floors. Suddenly, one of the monitors showed a nurse walking down the hall. A blur of movement dropped from the ceiling. Not a jump, but a streak of liquid fire. In the blink of an eye, the nurse slumped to the floor, her expression frozen in a look of absolute vacancy.
Where did her shadow go?
Mika zoomed in on the footage. The nurse was breathing, but her body was empty. The shadow on the floor had detached itself and was now flowing toward the ventilation shafts like ink in water.
It is not attacking the body, it is harvesting the consciousness. It is a Kasha, a collector of the departed.
They raced toward the isolation ward. As they exited the elevator, the lights exploded one by one, showering them in glass. The darkness was total, save for the faint, flickering purple glow emanating from Mika's pocket. From the end of the hall they heard it, a sound like heavy, metallic claws scraping against the linoleum, accompanied by a low, guttural purr that sounded like a combustion engine misfiring.
It knows we have the fragment. It thinks it is a prize.
A shape emerged from the shadows. It was the size of a tiger, but its fur was a chaotic mess of charred silk and glowing cinders. It had no face, only a gaping maw that leaked thick, black smoke. It didn't walk. It rolled forward with a predatory mechanical grace, leaving a trail of scorched, circular tire marks on the floor.
Aya, get behind the lead-lined doors of the X-ray room, now!
The creature lunged. It didn't howl. It screamed with the sound of 1,000 grinding gears. As it passed, the air scorched the walls, leaving the smell of a funeral pyre. They barely dived through the door as the heavy steel slammed shut, the creature's claws leaving deep, burning gouges in the metal.
We are trapped, but we are shielded. Now, we just have to figure out how to stop a creature made of fire and gears.
Inside the darkened X-ray room, the silence was back, but now it was punctuated by the rhythmic scraping of the creature outside.
The Kasha is attracted to death. But it is starving. It is using the stone's energy to hunt faster than it ever could.
We have to starve it. If we can isolate the stone's signal, maybe it will lose interest.
Mika looked at her tools, the insulated pliers, a lead-lined bag, and a high-frequency jamming device she had built for the previous case.
This is not just an investigation anymore. We are hunting a predator that is hunting us.
Outside the door, the creature began to purr again. The metal of the door was starting to glow a dull, dangerous red. The funeral thief was waiting, and it was getting hungry. The X-ray room was shielded with lead, creating a dead zone that slightly muffled the creature's purr. Outside, the Kasha was pacing. Every time it brushed against the steel door, the surface groaned, the metal warping under intense, localized heat. Mika pulled the lead-lined bag from her tactical vest. She carefully slipped the glowing stone fragment inside, sealing it tight.
The signal is weak now, but it is not gone. It can still smell the energy in the room.
We cannot stay here. If it breaches the door, we are dead. Mika, look at the supply closet.
Aya pointed to a rack of liquid nitrogen canisters used for cryotherapy and tissue preservation. A cold, white vapor drifted from the safety valves.
If it is made of fire and smoke, what happens if we freeze the air around it?
Mika's eyes lit up. She moved to the supply closet and grabbed 2 high-pressure nitrogen nozzles. She rigged them to the main pipe, creating a makeshift cold fire cannon.
It is a gamble. We have to draw it in, wait for it to lunge, and hit the core.
How do we draw it in? It knows the stone is in this room.
We don't need the stone. We need to trick it.
Mika took her handheld recorder and looped the sound of the stone's rhythmic, pulsing hum. She placed the speaker near the vent, away from their position.
Aya, get ready. When it lunges for the speaker, hit the release valve.
They waited. The scratching at the door stopped. The hallway became deathly quiet. Click. The lock began to glow white-hot as the creature melted the mechanism. The door swung open with a shriek of tortured steel. The Kamisha flowed into the room, a swirling vortex of embers and shadow. It ignored them, its burning eyes fixing on the speaker in the corner. It opened its massive, smoky jaw, ready to inhale the energy.
Now!
Aya slammed the release valve. A jet of liquid nitrogen blasted through the room, hitting the creature's core. The sound was deafening, the shriek of a steam engine being plunged into ice. The creature's fire flickered, turned blue, then sputtered. It didn't roar, it whistled, a sound of escaping pressure. The Kasha whipped its tail, hitting the wall with the force of a wrecking ball. The creature was no longer a fluid ghost. It was hardening, its form turning into jagged, frosted glass and cooling slag.
It is not dead, but it is locked. Aya, the containment bag.
Mika rushed forward, dodging a spray of cooling embers. She slapped a containment seal, a specialized device they had been working on, onto the creature's frozen, chest-like center. The seal hummed, pulling the chaotic energy of the Kasha into a controlled vacuum. The creature's form collapsed, shrinking until it was nothing more than a charred, metal-like orb. The room was covered in a layer of frost. The heat was gone. Aya collapsed against the wall, her breath visible in the cold air. Mika stared at the orb on the floor. It was silent. The rhythmic purr had ceased.
We caught it. But look at the stone fragment.
Mika opened the lead-lined bag. The fragment inside was no longer pulsing purple. It was glowing a bright, angry red, and the lead lining was starting to melt.
It didn't just attract the Kasha. It fed off the fight. Every time we encounter these things, the stone grows stronger.
We are not just cleaning up after monsters, Mika. We are fueling a chain reaction.
They looked at each other, the weight of their discovery settling in. They had stopped the funeral thief, but the path ahead was becoming increasingly dangerous.
We need to get out of here before the hospital security notices the damage. And we need to find a way to stop the stone from growing.
They packed their gear, the charred orb safely tucked away. As they walked out of the hospital, the rain began to fall again. The same rain from the night at the laundry. The city was not safe. And the archives were far from complete. The ride back to Mika's apartment was silent. The city lights blurred into streaks of red and yellow against the rain-slicked windows. Mika held the lead-lined bag on her lap. Even through the thick shielding, she could feel a rhythmic throb like a heartbeat that wasn't hers.
The orb. Is it still active?
It is dormant, but the stone fragment inside the bag, it is vibrating at a frequency I have never seen.
Mika opened the bag just a crack. The light inside was no longer purple. It was a searing, brilliant white, flickering like a dying fluorescent bulb. It was hungry, and it had tasted the energy of the Kasha. They reached the apartment building. The lobby was empty, the air stagnant. Mika and Aya walked to the elevator, their exhaustion showing in their stiff movements. As the elevator doors opened, Mika stopped.
What is it?
Look at the floor.
There, in the center of the elevator, was a single, fresh, charred tire track. A perfect circle of burnt rubber and ash. It was exactly like the marks the Kasha had left in the hospital.
But we contained it. The orb is in the bag.
Then it wasn't the Kadonsha that left this.
Mika stepped into the elevator, her hand gripping her tactical light. As the doors closed, she noticed a small note pinned to the wall. It was a business card, crisp and white, standing out against the dingy elevator walls. There was no name, only a symbol. A stylized fox mask, split down the middle by a jagged line.
Who would know we were at the hospital? Who would leave this?
Someone who has been watching the stone. Someone who knows exactly what we are doing.
Back in the apartment, they set the containment orb on their desk. Mika turned on her computer and opened the Whisper Beyond Archives master file. She began to overlay the map of the Katisha's path with the map of the city's power grid.
The path isn't random. It's a geometry.
It is not just a collection of monsters. It is a ritual. Every time we defeat one, we are clearing the board for something larger to take its place.
Mika looked at the fox mask symbol on the business card. She typed it into the database. A single file popped up, dated 3 decades ago. It was a report from a defunct government research facility titled Project Sesshō-seki.
We are not the first ones to find these fragments. The people who came before us, they didn't just want to stop them.
What did they want?
They wanted to wake the source.
Outside, the rain finally stopped. The city was still, holding its breath. Mika turned off her desk lamp, leaving only the faint, ominous glow of the stone fragment illuminating their faces.
From now on, we are not just investigating. We are being hunted.
Are you going to keep going?
Until we find who left that card. Because if they have the rest of the fragments, they have the power to tear the world apart.
The stone pulsed once, a blinding flash that filled the room. Then, it went dark. The hunt for the truth had just become a race against the end. Subscribe to Whispers Beyond Archives. The Fox Mask is watching. Are you next on the list?